Today we are going to be talking about the 10 steps to convert a school bus into a tiny house. This is not comprehensive. It's not going to give you everything you need, but it'll give you kind of a framework for what you should be thinking about, and as you plan your timeline, the long game, how long is it going to take, and some of the budgeting stuff. So here we go. The first thing you need to do when converting a school bus into a tiny house is you need to pick the school bus. You need to find the school bus and you need to buy the school bus. So there's a lot of considerations for how long of a bus. Should you get a pusher or a puller, or how tall the roof is you want, and does it have under storage, is there rust, how good are the tires, all sorts of stuff you need to consider, look at, and also where you're going to get it. We got ours on Craigslist. You can check Facebook Marketplace. You can check your local school district surplus. They do auctions every once in a while. And there's a bunch of other places. I'll put some links in the description for places you can find school buses. So that's the first step. Find your bus, buy your bus, and then get your bus home. I know a lot of people have asked about driving the school bus. Technically you need a CDL until it is converted into an RV when you bring it to the state patrol. So you can either have a friend who has a CDL come and drive it for you, or you can just get it home however you get it home. The second thing you need to do on your Skoolie conversion is to gut the bus. That was the most labor intensive by far. So getting the chairs out, some people pull the ceiling, we pulled our ceiling, we cut our walls off, we ripped everything out of the bus, we ripped the floor out. So we started with chairs. Ours just unbolted pretty easy. We had one person under the bus, one person over the bus holding the bolt and yelling at each other. This bolt, no, that bolt. Some people go with angle grinders because their bolts aren't coming out. And it can be a heck of a deal. The plywood floor we ripped up. That's a whole nother thing. We've got videos on all of this. So the demo, that's a big thing. Buy donuts, bring your friends. That is, it took us about 3 months for just the demo part. Third part, once you have it demoed, this is when we started planning our layout. And so we kind of brought in some big items. We had those sheets of insulations. We kind of laid those out for walls to kind of see how it was going to fit. We had our fridge in and some other things, and we measured the size of the bed and the size of these cushions up front, and then we kind of taped it out on the floor and walked around and moved stuff. And the great part with the bus is you can do whatever you want. So we created 2 spaces, so kind of the living room and then the bedroom in the back, but it's a school bus, you can do whatever you want. The third thing is to prep the floor. So we patched all the holes, and then we did some Rust-Oleum, or I don't remember what it was called, not Rust-Oleum, but rust converter, and then we did some paint to go over the top. I can link that stuff below. Pour 15 I think it was called. And then we did plywood on top of that. And then you can also paint the outside at this time, or you can wait till the end to paint the outside, whatever you prefer. We waited to the end to paint the outside just because it was like the final thing and it felt good to just save it to the end. And then from there, once you have your subfloor put on and your floor prepped, you can do framing. So we did 2x3 framing, and we just framed a little box for the bathroom, and that provided the kitchen wall and then the back wall for the bedroom. And you kind of just do 16 inch on center, and then the ceiling is curved obviously, so you have to cut each one different, and then you just kind of go for it. We use screws, which isn't like ideal framing usually. You use nails, but with screws I felt like it would just hold the bus together better. And we framed the walls out, and we did that with the same, and screwed it into the the metal ribs in the bus. And the same thing for the ceiling. We framed out the ceiling so we would have wood to screw into for our cedar ceiling. The next thing we did was plumbing and electrical. So I had an electrician friend come, and he helped us wire this whole thing for $110. We don't have any solar. We dabbled with having an inverter, batteries, the whole thing, but it would just ended up being easier to plug it into a 50 amp service at our house. We don't travel a ton with it, and when we do travel, we stop at RV parks, and so we can plug in. It wasn't a huge deal for us to be off the grid, but you got to figure out your off the grid situation, run all your wires, ideally while your framing is open, and then after you've done your electrical and your plumbing, then you can go ahead and put up walls. And so we did thin plywood for the walls, You can do drywall, but I'm guessing that would crack. I haven't seen a lot of people do drywall in Skoolies, and it's very heavy. So thin plywood worked well for us. Just screwed it in, patched the holes, and then painted over it. And then the flooring, we did Lux Plank flooring, just stuck it down. It did shrink a little bit because the temperature fluctuates so much in the bus. So maybe something that clicks together would be easier, because everywhere there's a seam in our bus, there's a little gap that you can feel with your foot. It's not the end of the world, but it's a little uncomfortable. So after we finished our framing, we went ahead and did the cedar ceiling. And I have that as a whole step because it took forever and it was very expensive, but it adds to the cabin feel and it makes it cozy in here. So I don't know, you can do whatever you want for your ceiling. We've seen plywood where they bend it and squish it up, but the cedar allows you to kind of make that curve a little more natural because they're only like 4 inches wide, so, or 3.5 inches wide. So the ceiling, and somewhere in there you need to figure out the wiring of the bus because it has its own lights in the bus. They're connected to the front, so you could leave those. You have lights while you're driving, which I wish we would have done, but you just got to make sure you mark all your wires. Don't start ripping stuff out until you know and you trace it all the way to where it goes. That's an important step. And then after you're framing your walls, your floor, your ceiling, you can start to do your finishing touches. So like countertops, your sink, get your fridge and your microwave in, put in the cubic mini, the toilet, the bathtub, the sink. You can start to kind of add in your appliances and make your cushions for your bed. The bed framing happened somewhere in there. And then we put our bed in kind of at the end. We put all the soft stuff in after all the dirt was going to be settled, so we didn't get our soft stuff dirty. But at this point you can put in all your appliances. This is the fun part, decorating. You can go to IKEA, get some stuff, some organizational things, you know, the knickknacks. And then after all that, you are done with your Skoolie and you're ready to hit the road. Somewhere in that process you need to go, at least for Washington, we had to go to State Patrol and show them that it was no longer a school bus, no longer a commercial vehicle, but an RV. And I don't know if it's the same in every state, but they wanted to see 3 things. They wanted to see a bathroom, a kitchen, and a bedroom. And it just has to be like permanent fixtures. So you could, if you want to do it early in the process, you could screw your toilet down, screw a sink in, and then show them where the bed goes. They weren't super concerned about it. They just wanted to see the VIN number, which is important because we gutted our bus and ripped our VIN number off. So we had to find the chassis number up under the bus and the wheel well. It's a whole pain in the butt. So don't rip your VIN number off. That's a major, most important thing. Because once you're finished with your bus, you want to be able to drive it. And if you can't get it licensed, you can't get it insured, then you're in trouble. So after you're insured, you're registered, you got your license plates, then you can start driving around, cruising the USA, or leave it parked and rent it on Airbnb. Hopefully these tips are helpful. Gives you an idea of the process that you need to go through to convert a bus. You could also just buy a bus and rip a few seats out the back and throw a bed on the ground and then cruise around and have a propane stove, and you do whatever you want, your own mobile water. Skoolies are a blank slate, so you do whatever you want with them. You can drive your motorcycles into them, put a ramp on the back or something. I don't know, whatever you want to do. The world is your oyster. Go for it. Let me know if there's any steps I missed. If you like it, you can like it. If you don't like it, you can dislike it. And we'll see ya in the next video.